So thanks for having everybody. Now I want to introduce to you Scofray Nana Yaw Yeboah, a friend and a brother. I normally don't like introducing resource people. I want them to introduce themselves and introduce the theme. They do justice to it more than I would do. So Mr. Nana Yaw Yeboah, if you can hear me, please unmute and take us through your journey of how we are getting to this point. Welcome, Nana Yaw.
Thank you very much, Chairman ACN, for the opportunity. I remember when COVID came and you initiated such a platform for us to join and keep learning from each other. So I'm grateful for the opportunity on your platform. Well, Scofray Nana Yaw Yeboah is a very simple young man. He is a certified mindfulness and ecological coach. Not blowing his own trumpet, but he's the first African to graduate from Ideal Coaching Global in the USA as a certified ontological mindfulness and ecological coach. I also sat for the International Coaching Federation, associate certified coach, and he actually got duly accredited. Also, I am a certified professional trainer by IAPPD UK. I have my backgrounds in management studies and leadership studies from Institute for Commercial Management, United Kingdom. Some of my core competencies from which this particular topic we're going to share comes from is basically into neuro-linguistic programming, braining, communication, leadership, team building, and other stuff. I consult for businesses here and there, do a bit of media representations in Ghana and South Africa. I've also been able to do about 4 books and articles counting. My latest article was co-authored with another coach from Europe, but based in Asia. So basically, this is about Scofray Nana Yaw Yeboah. I am passionate about human capital development. So it is not only a career for me in what I do, it is also a calling that I'm in pursuit of. As others would say, ministers would say they are in their ministry. This is also the ministry I pursue, to bring transformation or to hold the space or a space for transformation that wherever I encounter, professionally or unprofessionally, I will be able to hold a space for something to emerge or for the best of that person to emerge. We are saying in quantum being that when you encounter somebody, there is something in there that must be birthed. So wherever I get opportunity to meet people, I hold a space for something to come forth. That is basically what quantum being says. The light I introduce is possibility, awareness, and potentials and opportunities. So basically, Chairman is saying this is who Scofray Nana Yaw Yeboah is. Yeah.
Thank you, Scofray. Thank you so much. A very elaborate background. And to be honest with you, so much convinced, days back, months back, and now more convinced that the topic we're going to discuss, you're the right person for it. You can do justice to all the pointers and all the questions that will definitely come up here. We've already prayed that people will be elevated, people will be informed, people will be inspired to do more after this presentation. So we'll go straight into it. But first thing, Scofray, I've heard a couple of times, the mind is a terrible thing to waste. And I don't joke with that statement because I always want to occupy myself with something deeper in my mind. So based on your first slide, I want you to explain what you think about that statement, and then you can launch on into your presentation.
Thank you very much, Chairman. And I duly agree with you that the mind is a terrible thing to waste. The wastage of the mind actually comes to fore due to the lack of knowledge about the power of the mind, due to the belittling of the power of the mind. So when you are in the lack of knowledge of something, you don't put it to use, you don't nurture it, you don't enhance it. And the mind, as we are going to share today, it's not just a fluke. It is bigger, it is valuable, it is sharper, it is amazing than we ever think. So that when you waste your mind, you've wasted your life. When you waste the mind, you've wasted the purpose for which you are here to live for. So indeed, I agree with you that it is a terrible thing to waste the mind. And if you are not knowledgeable about it, you seek it. If you are not depth about it, you enhance it. If you don't have insight about it, you seek the spaces into which you can see into the mind so that you can function to your optimum best. The mind is everything we are. And if you waste it, you've wasted the essence of which God might have brought you here to live for.
Great. You can go on with the presentation, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. If you look at the topic, the mind, I broke it into a mnemonic or abbreviation, and I said that the mastery in neuro display. So the mind, I said, is mastery in neuro display. All of us are perhaps glued to our phones or glued to our laptops right now. Whatever that is in display comes from the software and hardware chemistry for you to see what is displaying. It is the same way that from the strand of your hair to the minutest part of the nail on your toes, they are a reflection or a display of what is going on within your body, what is going on within a certain faculty of what you would term body. So your outward and even aspect of your inner being are a display like LEDs to that which is taking place that you can't use your eye to see. So whatever you are, you're walking, you're talking, everything you are is a display with a back-end software, with a back-end hardware that gets you to do the things you do. So you are a neuro, and we are saying, like neuroscience will say, from your central nervous system, which is the neuro that controls everybody. So your hands, everything is actually a display that of what is happening internally that your eyes cannot see. So your mind is not just a matter of a thing. The mind is bigger than a thing because the entire full body is actually the outward display of your mind, which is basically mastery. That is why I use the term mastery, because it is the coordination of a lot of things for which you see yourself activating it or taking it in the physical form. So it's mastery in neuro. Everything, our nervous system is connected to our neuro. Everything we do is coming from there. So our entire body is a display of what the neuro does in our inner body. So to go forward, the mind and the brain, for you to maximize and harness the power of the mind, you need to understand the faculty from which the mind governs all that it is in the display I have already explained. So we say the brain is an organ that houses the mind. So that is the two different things, like a set and a subset. So the brain is the set from which it houses the mind. And when we say brain, it is made up of the following, those science background. This is not biology, but just to allow us to establish a certain foundation. So whatever the mind is comes from the functions and the responsibilities of the brain. So the brain is made up of certain things, the large number of neurons and ganglia, neural cells, support cells and components, functional attributes, able to mediate complex reflexes, chemical warehouse of neurotransmitters. That is what the brain does. And it is out of these functions and attributes of the brain comes the manifestation of what we call the mind. So that is why I re-echoed what Chairman said. It is a total waste if you don't subject your mind to its greatest optimum of functionality. Meaning, when you lack awareness of what you display, is emanating from a certain hub. And the hub has so many things, and these are some of the things that goes into forming a brain, so that you understand at a particular moment when something occurs, like we call the subconscious and the conscious mind. So it is all these that we deduce and become the display we are, as I've already explained with the mind. And there are more to what you are than you think of yourself. There are more to why you function a certain manner than you think of yourself. So the brain is sometimes like, how do we call it? Like a rewritable CD. Everything that is occurring right from the time you became a full-blown human being, where your nervous system through the guts, through to the heart and the brain. In fact, the brain in the skull is the last brain that gets formed to make you a full human being. And it develops fully at the age of 24, 25, when you can say your brain has fully developed. So whatever you are learning, you are going through, there's something we call pathways. Your brain creates pathways which coordinate how you function as a human being. So whatever you keep on rewriting, and at the age of 15 and so, your subconscious is fully formed, and it is now supporting to make sure your conscious brain is also coming on board. That is how can we say by 25, your brain is developed. That means your conscious brain is also fully developed. So it is imperative that this gives us the opportunity to ask ourselves, what have we accumulated all these years? What pathways have we created all these years? Because everything that you display as the mind is as a result of the pathways you have created in your brain. And because the human being functions more than just the skull brain or the head brain, this is why this particular discussion is very important, so that we are going to ask ourselves, what else makes us develop a powerful mind? How can we enhance a powerful mind? So we will need to be able to identify what has occurred, what kind of pathways have occurred. The reason why you think in a certain pattern, the way you feel it, you talk in a certain pattern, the way you all this, aside the genetic chemistry, the environment from which you were born into, for that either modified or enhanced how you behave the way you behave, then it becomes critical. So the first thing we need to be able to deduce is to understand the difference between the mind and the brain. Then we can go into and explore why it is critical to understand the power of the mind, and from whence or from which part of the human body you can or you are behaving in a certain manner, in a certain pattern. And that allows you to know if you need to recreate new pathways. If you're already old, then it comes through certain activities or the consciousness to more or less, in engineering, you short circuit the subconscious mind so that it begins to record something anew through the conscious set circuiting to get the subconscious mind begin to record new things as you wanted to allow you to display as your mind. Chairman, we can go on. So we say the mind is the manifestation of thoughts, perceptions, emotions, determination, memory, imagination that takes place within our brain. And if you check, I put it in the brain into there is a bracket with the S. Strozen Institute did something that in those of us in coaching and ontology, we know that when we say soma, what we mean is the human body, the center of learning from the head into the body, giving you and your client access to all aspects of your intelligence, intellectual, emotions, and physical.
if you look at the ancient, how do we call it? We call them the ancient sages and stuff. When we say the human being is a mind, body, and soul, in somatic studies, these three comes together to form the mind. All these three comes together to form the mind, because these three powers how the mind displaces. So soma will be your neurology, your psychology, and the biology of our being. So ontology will say the beingness and the activity that takes place are mostly your physiology and everything. So your mind is far bigger an entity than you think. It comes from your determination, it comes from your memory, your imaginations, your thought, your perception. So that is why we say it's a manifestation. It is the display of what you have internally learned over the years, your intellectual emotions, your soul, everything. So the mind is a powerful being. That is why I try to differentiate between thinking of the brain as the mind. No, it is all the things that the brain allows other chemistry to occur, congruencies to occur for you to function in a certain manner. Where depending on the pathways you have created, you will see the output. And if you don't like that output, you go back through the trace of the mind to know the source, to want to tweak, to begin to have it display a different thing that makes you proud or gives you fulfillment, that gives you purpose. Next slide. So this brings us to the part where, when we talk of the soul, the body, the spirit, the way it is, there is more to you than your skull brain. So in the area of multiple integration technology of brains, what we call embraining, we will use that philosophy and scientific proving approach to maximize and understand the power of the mind, so that if something is to occur or whatever is occurring, you will know which part of your brain, okay, you will know which part of your brain to go to aid that the transformation you want to have it occur. If you didn't know, even though it has existed several millions of years and sages have spoken about it, today science have augmented it that we have more than one brain. That means we have more than the head brain. So we have the head brain, we have the heart brain, and we have the gutsy brain. So if it is a human part, you pick your head, you go into the chest cavity, that is where your heart brain will be located. Then right beneath your chest cavity, through onto your groin, is actually also your gutsy brain. So if you check, it's a pattern. And science makes it so amazing that in the reverse, it starts from your gutsy brains. All of us started growing from your gutsy brains. If you look at the central nervous, that is where it started from. You did not develop your heart first. It started from your intuition. Then you came through to develop a heart. Before these two supported to create your head brain. So it is actually it is the last born of all the three brains. And it is these three that causes us to act in a manner which we call the power of the mind. So if any of these faculties have challenges, it affects the mind you have, which I've already established in the soma way. So your total body displays from these three faculties of your brain. So if there are situations that are occurring and you want to alter something in the mind, you need to be able to address where is that thing coming from, so that you can actually bag it and get the needed results you want to put out there. So fundamentally, even though this is a new science, a lot don't know about it, this has been tried and tested, even though anciently it was known as a body, mind, and soul. I wouldn't want to go deeper. There is a few hour-and-a-half plus session, so I wouldn't need to bore you with all the nitty-gritties, but as we go, you will pick some of the things that will allow you that if you want to shift a certain output of which the body displays, you will be able. So that's why we say that there is the being. In ontology, we say the beingness is your total what is in you. Then the doingness, which is that which you are within, and how you actively or you participated in action and the results you get. So your be, do, have, whatever that is in evidence of you is what you have been having over time. You will come and trace and say, then let me check what I've been doing. Because your actions are not just automatic and it comes from a certain way of being, you realize that if you want to correct the output, come to the reverse of the actions you take, you must go back to where the activation is occurring for you to do things in a certain manner to the reason why you get certain results. So it's established that we have three brains, that the Asian people call it the soul, call it the mind and stuff. That's I want to speak. What is the heart of the matter? We've explained all this in metaphorical wise sayings until today's science have been able to establish that indeed this is who we are as human beings, and this is how powerful we are as a mind. So I want to begin with the head brain. The head brain has got very simple functionality. Even though it is the biggest of all the brains, several billions of neurons. But like I said, if you come to the knowledge and the wisdom of how your mind is triggered from behind, like I explained, like the computer and the phone, then you'll be able to connect when you want to alter certain things. So if you look at the cortex part of the brain, the head brain, its main job is to do long-term goals. So the reason why you are able to plan ahead like the ant comes from the cortex part of your brain. So the activity that allows you to plan into the future comes from the cortex brain. It also means that because that function occurs, that is how come your mind becomes powerful in when you are planning things. So if you realize that you are not able to plan things for into the future and see to it in bits and pieces to come to being, then you realize that there's something that you might need to seek. If that one you need to do expect advice, you do it. Social relatedness, how we also relate. Where if you want to rest, it comes from your cortex part of the head brain. The exercises, your concern of nutrition, what you eat, what you don't read, framework, that means your navigations, how you're able to focus on things, the sense of pride, all comes from the cortex part of your brain. So the output of which you are as a body, this is where some of this chemical triggers goes on in the part of your head brain called the cortex brain. So anytime you realize that you are not able to plan for long, you are not able to do long-term goals, you're not able to do those things, begin to seek for special attention, because there is a function of your mind that has got its roots in the cortex part of the head brain for it to support you. That is how come we liken it to the ants, because ants are animals or are insects who plan far ahead. They are skillfully and creatively ahead planners. So there is a way, if you look at the synchronicity between how ants build the ant mold, how they save food and all that, they play that role of which your cortex part of the head brain does. This is why I attribute that if we are in the knowledge of this, we will know how powerful our mind is, because it displays. You play it out of which these things are occurring. So you cannot neglect the cortex part of your head brain, or you cannot neglect the knowledge of what goes into the head brain, which tends to modify or which tends to advance how your mind functions, the perception it occurs, and everything. Thank you, Chairman. Then we come to this is the total head brain. But there are a few other aspects of it I need. That is how can you see this diagram. This is the total head brain. If you look at it, we have the prefrontal cortex, where it houses the limbic system and the amygdala. You see all these takes place there, but each of them has got a reason. So the executive functions of the prefrontal cortex, different from the cortex, is conscious choices. Conscious choices. And the creator who made us is so powerful to insight that even though we are almost 80% of our conscious being, to allow us to sometimes mitigate and do some of the rewriting, like the CD, like I mentioned, of you need a conscious choice to say, we argue the unconscious now, more like character molding, behavior molding. We argue to look at this inflow as we want it to be so that it functions. It's also the same place where your mindfulness, your sense of serenity occurs, your awareness, which I'll speak deeper into yourself, your strategies, your support, your solutions. And it can scan the other parts to assess the state of the brain into facilitate which of the SS to use. So it is this executive function that it is able to scan other aspects of you as you go into spaces and determine if you are only mindful. So you cannot have, if you cannot have a powerful brain and you lack the sense of mindfulness and consciousness. So if you realize that you are not so mindful about things, you don't tend to be conscious about things, begin to pause and ask, how can I intervene and make sure I become, so to have a powerful mind, you need to start being aware of how conscious you are in your choices. And they all have a way it's placed. Then we come to the limbic system. It is basically about our emotionality, why we play, the good feelings, the fanfare, our social relations and good feelings, our self-esteem, short-term activities. This is why happiness don't need to last more than, you can't keep on laughing more than 1 hour. No, then there's something wrong, because you have exceeded the bandwidth, because these things are supposed to last in short terms, in activities. And dopamine related, where your motivation triggers your feelings, your loving, your all that triggers your fight and flight responses, why your body triggers and say at this moment you are under threat, either you fight or you run. This is where it comes from. So all our feelings, in the mind of feeling, it comes from this, the prefrontal cortex, the part of it which you call the limbic system. With the limbic system, this is where a lot of us use to study what we call nonverbal. So our cues and everything comes from this limbic system. Beautiful thing about it is that it does not do anything logics. So that is how come it is able to betray you if you are, how do you call it? If you are faking, your body is able to betray that which you are logically doing. If it's a matter of feeling, your limbic system will give up on you. There's someone who say, why are you moody? Oh, me, I'm not moody. Your body is speaking a different language and you think it's. Then the amygdala is, this is one beautiful thing. That is why it's so close also to the limbic system. Sometimes it's so interesting to understand this. It is that part of your brain or the prefrontal cortex that deals with threat, whether the threat is emotional or physical. So in actual sense, that is how come all of us have an iota of ego. But the too much essence of the ego becomes damaging to your mind. That is how come if you realize that you have anger problems and everything, you realize that it is no more you rising up to a threat, but you have kept in the loop for a very long time. It is a sign that if you cannot manage that, there's something wrong that you need to address. So it is also from that aspect that you guard your respect, you guard equity, you don't want to be cheated, you guard the networks you establish, the alliances, you want to control the things you can have control over from your domain. Then you demarcate your territories, and also being able to be aware of similarities when things are replaying itself and stuff. So that which occurs in your mind and you see it in the display of your body are not by accident. Some things are occurring in certain cortices that must trigger it, so that when you look at the conscious and mindfulness, when you interplay the two, it allows you to know where you want to enhance, where you want to modify, where you want to put a stop, and where if it needs clinical attentions, there are clinicians who does those jobs. And there's switch trigger for the limbic system to enter into flight, or because it senses threat, that is what it sends to the limbic system. Say this one you have to fight or you have to run. So this is the aspect of the head brain and the job that it does for the mind to exercise all the functionalities of these things to be able to be empowered and fired. So you are not an accident. You are not an accident. If you get to understand this, then you will allow the mind to be well developed and empowered to function. So we are more powerful than we think as human beings. But for the lack of knowledge of some of these things, we take our beingness for granted to think we are here to only eat and die, have fun, and we are gone. No. This is why purpose and all things, another session, you realize that even establishing the purpose comes from somewhere in your brain. That is signature wired to you alone. Or you can have people who do the same thing almost like you, but there is something you bring to the table that makes you different because your signature strength is different from everybody on this earth. Chairman. Now we come to the heart brain. I've already established that for you to maximize the power of your mind, we are looking at the back end functionalities that gets us to be this powerful mind. And we have discussed that of the head brain. Like I've said, the ancients, if you pick any profound religion, profound way of being and everything, every one of them has something to do with the soul, the mind, and the body. Every one of them. And science have recently affirmed this through powerful, over almost 20 years research to establish that to have a powerful mind, you need to have the knowledge and the insight of what is happening for you to be what you have become this way on this manner. So we have discussed the head brain, where some of the things occur. So this is to also announce to us that the mind you have does not only come from your head brain. So if you are aware, like I said, whatever I do, I want to see awareness created, opportunities provided, possibilities evoked, such that we can become better and refined minds of people to achieve our greatness. So the heart brain, I had already established what makes a part of the body a brain. So far, only 3 have been established, which is the head, the heart, and the gut. So every heart must have the things I already described when I was talking about the brain and the mind introduction. All of them must have. So, and the number of the neurons that create all those other stuff that we mentioned occurs. So with the 40,000 to 150,000 neurons takes effect in the human heart. It also has got memory. So when you say you have gotten broken heart, how many of us have heard that and held our head before? If you are talking about your heart that have gotten broken heart, you never touch your head. You never touch your head. You touch your chest. It is an intrinsic, it is a design reflex that when you want to talk about your heart, you quickly touch your chest. And when you want to express love, also you go close to your chest. Science has proven that the part of our body that resonates in higher frequency is our heart. This is why when you enter into a space that there is full of anger, the propensity for you to also get angry is high, because it is a frequency emanating within that environment, and you are easily to pick it. So if you don't understand that our body gives and receives signals of this nature, it's so beautiful. The ancients and even the Bible says that don't get so angry till the sun sets on it. Why? Because the moment you cross that point, it has become toxic. But it is okay, so that it sends signals to allow the brain to record that these are the things that makes us feel threat, like the reacts, as I alluded to. So the heart brain is all about love, connection, closeness, and bonding. If you want to have an optimum mind function, passion, which comes your values, your dreams, your goals, your purposes. So if you want to talk about, how many of us think that it's by accident that when you are reciting or singing your national anthems, you put your hands on your chest? It's not accident. It's a body reflex that touches the heart, that houses the values, the dreams, the goals and purposes, the love that you have for your country. That is the part of your body that houses it. And that brain, if you begin to think about your goals, your purposes, and of that manner and it has no connection to your heart, I'm sorry, you have no purpose. You have no goals, you have no dreams, you have no values, because your passion center, the nerve that produces your passion, comes from your heart. Equanimity, your wisdom, your hopes, your sensitivity of peace and everything are the functions of the heart brain. So if you know your mind in display of all these things I've mentioned comes from the heart, that is why you want to guard things that you allow the brain to record, because every brain has the ability, it has a memory to record, and the brain also has memory. That is how come that sometimes if you see something that has happened before it's about to play, two things occur. Either you become repulsive and want to defend it because the brain has a record of that. The brain has a record of that event. That is why nobody wants to go through broken heart twice. Nobody wants. So if you see your mind not function in a certain manner, you know which part of the faculty of the brain which displays your body are in the form of the mind. You need to go to and check. You need to go to and check. Chairman, please, if you can go on. Then we come to the gastric brain. The first brain of all human beings is the gastric brains. That has 500 million neurons. So everything we discuss about what makes a brain, this gastric brain, the gastric brains talk about everything in your intestine, apart from your heart down to your groins. Everything in there forms your brain. In there comes your intuition, comes your telepathic frequencies and courage. You see that all this, a lot of us are taught that courage comes from the heart. No, it has not come from the heart. The part that is responsible for courage, it's your guts, it's your intuition. It is that part of your body. That is how come when a woman in our local dialect is saying, "Oh, abadaye," the women will help me to explain it better. When we say a woman has got the madly love, they don't touch their heart. They touch a part of their heart and a part of their their womb. So that is where we all begin to have our first brain to function as human beings. And together with the three, empowers you to power the mind you have. That's why we said that the mind is a perception, manifestations, they are this and that and that. It is the synchronicity or the congruence of all these three that allows you to become a functional, powerful mind. What is so beautiful about the gastric brain is that the mothers understand this better, because when they have kids or when they get pregnant, it is not because you think you are pregnant. It is because your guts receive a gut and it communicates to your body for you to know something is occurring in your body. Then gradually, the baby in there does not talk, does not do anything, but you're able to feel something goes wrong, that this and that and that. The baby only communicates to you through its intuition, its telepathic frequencies. So this is how powerful your mind is. But it is also the least used part of our mind. The telepathy, the courage, the intuition. We don't use it at all because it needs certain environment to grow. It needs certain. That is how come all the great sages, there are times they fast. Christendom, there are times they fast. But a lot of time, we don't even know the scientific essence to why we fast and the benefit to our mind so that we can relate to even our creator better. We don't know. We think we are just, but you cannot just fast and fast sake. It must coordinate with the other two brains. That's why they must align, synchronize, incongruent, so that it sends the signal. Before I was preparing for this presentation, in the morning, the lights went off. And like we always say, something told me. And it always doesn't come from the heart or the head, but it's an intuitive telepathic thing. I quickly called the power producers. And indeed, it was a trigger within the area that has put the light off. Within an hour later, they had come to do it. when I wanted to also do the presentation, I said, something just came through. I said, okay, I could have internet issues, so let me work out with my backup internet. So you see, when you begin to create a conducive environment, mindfulness, meditation, one of the things that is so interesting is, do you know too much eating affects your gastric brain to function? So sometimes check, when you eat too much in a certain day, you have very annoying dreams. It is the gastric brains that is telling you, you have eaten too much. It does not allow me to come through with the salient information that I pick from the environment, or I pick ahead of you to want to alert you. So the human mind is so much a powerful accumulation of the works of three powerful entities called the brain, that if you don't know these that we are sharing today and be able to audit your mind chemistry, you will not function and live to the optimal best of your lives. So this session that you are on is so a powerful session that it goes a long way. So if you check, we said that the head brain deals with long-term, the short-term basis, but not good or bad. So in actual sense, we don't record values in our head. We record them in our heart. But the heart is about values that assign good and bad to experiences or feelings. So if we're able to understand every faculty of our mind and how it displays itself, which we call the mind, then when you want to recreate a higher value, a higher sense, a better way of being, you will know which aspect of the warehouse you want to go to and mitigate and work around it. Please, we can go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Scoff. I think I'm super excited about this. I just want to ask whether anybody has a question concerning this, because I know the next segment is more of some tips on how we can live better, how we can use our mind better. So all the presentations Scofray has done right now, do you have any question, anything to ask? Thank you, Fabiola. Any question, you can unmute and then ask a question, or any contribution to be made. If not, then
a quick question for Scofray.
Yes, Scofray. Yes, sir.
Scofray, thanks for it's very good information. Question I want to ask, sometimes at a certain age, they talk about using a supplement like 𝐓𝐡𝐞 𝐵𝘆. Does that go to the brain? I mean, if you want to enhance or strengthen your brain power and to make sure your brain is healthy, what are we talking about in order to prevent Alzheimer's and dementia? That's my question.
Okay. I don't know the medication you're talking about, and since this could be a medical purpose and I'm not a doctor, I don't want to say anything that I'll be taken on tomorrow by the medicine people. But what we can say, or what I can say, is that there are interventions we put to every aspect of the three brains that allows it to function to its optimum best. Because as we age, the functionalities of the body, which is by science also, they get a bit weaker. But the beautiful thing is its memory does not get destroyed, except something powerful happens like Alzheimer's and all that. So it depends on what has been deduced. Like I said, so your mind will tell you where a fault is coming from, for which reason you need an intervention. So this could be one of the ways that goes into the head brain to allow it. What is also important for me to announce is that all the three rise and connect to each other, so that it creates that conscious state for things to take place. So the head brain becomes the final point to receive everything and allow it to display. So I've mentioned that of the gas, for instance. If you eat too much, you're not able to do intermittent fasting and all that. You can't hear intuitively. The same way to the heart. If you keep on creating intoxicative relationship, bitterness, rancor, and everything, you cannot also receive the best from the heart. Then the same way with the head, the things you record, the songs and stuff that you eat. So before you realize, your mind is not functioning to its utmost best. So medically, unless there's a medical doctor who can support this, I wouldn't want to enter in those frontiers because it's purely medicine. And This is one way I can explain. But Chairman, let me go to some extreme ends. You know, these brains all function from, let's say, polarities. They function to polarities. So we have what we call the parasympathetic and we have the sympathetic. So let me take one of them and explain. So if you begin to find out that these things are occurring in your life, then you will know to which extreme you've gone to. For instance, lust. Lust is parasympathetic of the gut brain. So the excessive lust you have is the extreme end. And on the other side of the hemisphere, will be disgust. That to you, you easily get disgusted about everything. It is two extreme ends you've gone to. I'll mention one from each side of the brains. So for you to be able to build congruency and create a balance or coherent, you need to be able to come to the point where you can feel anger. You can feel hunger for something you want to do or for you to achieve something great. And if you come to the head brain, when you go to the left hemisphere, to the extreme end of it, the parasympathetic one, oriented through time, that everything you are so delaying. Then if you go to the extreme side of it, you are atemporal. But to build congruency with your head brain, that's why we say be present. Always be present to what or where you are, so that whatever is unfolding can be attended to. That is why you will get to know whether that moment it is a matter of the cortex brain, something you have planned into the future, so that the present becomes the tidbit of the accumulator of what you want to achieve in the future or the long-term plan you have made. So you need to build that congruency. Then when you come to the heart, one example of extreme ends of the heart is emotional numbness. You become so uncaring about a lot of things. And to the other side of it is anger, everything you're angry about. When you build congruency, you are able to have a beingness or a mind where you have a lot of peace and a lot of forgiveness. Because then you realize the things that happen around you, when you address them in the present, you don't carry the emotional bitterness. And because all these brains have the ability to record, whatever you ask it to record and it plays out, it will. And if it plays out, it will keep on playing out for you until you create an intervention for it to also go. So basically, this is something I wanted to add, that our brains function, all the brains function is two extreme ends. Finding the middle allows you to also expand and shoot the power of your mind to the higher roofs. So it is why you need to begin to find out, how can I learn to create those balances? Chairman, please, thank you. We can go to the next one. If there are any other questions, please, you can come.
Thank you. Thank you, Scofray. Any other question, any other points? Well elaborated answer. Okay, we'll go ahead. Thank you, Scofray.
Because our mind mastery in neuro display comes from a certain back end, which we have discussed, I want us to do something. To empower the mind, you must do this through mindfulness. We must learn to clear toxic substances from our head, from our heart, from our guts. How many of us have tummy cramps when you put in some kind of food? How does your tummy know that this particular food, we don't like it? Because it has memory and it recalls. That's like when you put it in there, it will tell you and causes you to either vomit it out or give you upset or tell you this one, we don't like it in our body. This is what we mean by the memory of the Gastric brain. So all this, so mindfulness allow you to begin to listen to all your three brains and display it out there. Mindfulness, not accumulating junk in any of this part of the brains, so that they can so integrate that you get the best part of it. Identify at what times are you the best in any of the following. Is there anyone here who have had an experience where, for instance, you went for a contract presentation or do something, then you later get back and you realize that intuitively the thing didn't go down well? Perhaps you should have added one or two words that could have turned things around. Is there anyone here with such an experience? Is there anyone here with such an experience?
Anyone want to share?
Anyone want to share?
Or Tony?
Or mothers, how do you know that also my breast is flowing with the breast milk? It means my child is hungry, even though you are almost 4 or 5 hours away from your child. How do you get that signal? Mothers, have you been able to explain how you get that signal?
Scofray, what Tony wanted to say something, so let's give him or her. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think that a couple of times I've actually had that feeling where I've gone to market an idea to someone, and then after I've left, I realized that I could have said one or two things that could have actually changed the person's thinking about the idea I was actually having to sell to the person. And I've had this not once, not twice, I think a couple of times.
So that thing that occurs is because most often than not, that is why the point 3 is that I cited that example. The point 3 there, no creativity must be established without compassion. No creativity with compassion must go through without courage. So it is very important that all these 3 faculties allow your mind to be sharper, that if you are presenting something and whatever you do, creativity must ride on compassion and fired by courage. So creativity is from the faculty of your head. Compassion like common passion, which I explained by the heart's brain, then it gets fired intuitively to get results. So this is how you can empower the mind, that if you are doing something, pause and ask yourself, yeah, the idea has come, fire. What is so compassionate or passionate about the idea that has come? Then when these two follow in sync, you will realize that something begins to boil in your tummy about this idea. If you listen, it creates an added value to what the two already has established and allow you to drive through. Like I established with the mothers. They are far distance and they feel their child or their baby is hungry. It is not the head work, it is not the heart work, it is the guts. But the moment they feel that gutsy telepathic signal, it enters their heart to find like empathy or something for the baby. Then they begin to get logical about it and say, so the 3 parts get congruent and say, okay, can I call the house help? Can I do this? That becomes the activity. That is how come a lot of times people who ignore their guts find themselves in a lot of trouble. But you also need to train their guts to be able to, for you to hear a lot. And I've given one way: stop eating too much. Stop eating too much junk. It is their first brain that you need to master it as well alongside the 3. Let's do a simple exercise. Let's do a simple exercise. Asking why questions to evoke compelling purpose and values. Don't do things because you feel right. Ask why about 5 times to why you want to do the thing. And every time you trigger a why, use any part of the brain to trigger the why and see the responses you get, so that you can evoke compelling purpose and values to create a summation of all the 3 before you take a step. The exercise here is very simple. What is the difference between the following questions? How can I make this moment magical? How can I make this moment even more magical? Is there anyone here that can decipher the difference? Anyone here to share the difference between how can I make this moment magical versus how can I make this moment even more magical? What is the difference between these two questions? Anyone to share? You can even type it in the chat. What makes it different? What makes it different? Anyone to deduce the difference?
Yeah,
Okay, please go ahead.
Can I go ahead?
Yes.
Yeah, so the first question is saying, how can I make this moment magical? I will presume on the basis of that statement that the moment is not magical as it is. The second question asking, how can I make this moment more magical? There is a possibility that the moment is magical and a person wants an advancement or an upgrade of the magical moment. So they are looking for ways to up the temple of how magical the moment is at that point in time.
So thank you very much. That's a very powerful contribution. So you realize that when you qualify it even more, it means that you look at situations in your life as magical moment. So in coaching, there is a way we do languaging and wording. That is how come we want you to learn not to be using negative words. So if you see challenges in your lives as magical, how you even make it more magical means you live in the present and in the moment, so that whatever that shows up, it's an opportunity for you to be able to get the best out of it. And this is one way you empower your mind, especially even through wording and languaging. Funny enough, what you keep on recording, thank you, Veronica. It requires less effort or thought. However, when you add more to the question, it means exactly. And because you are a phenomenal, fantastic being, when you evoke even more, the body chemistry and everything will give you the abilities to do the even more. Look at what is happening in the athletic world. Whoever thought somebody would be running like Usain Bolt did? But let's bet there is somebody else who is going to do even more of what Usain Bolt have done. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. So what, like I explained in quantum being, if you pick a seed and you don't see a forest in a seed, you don't treat the seed very well. So if you pick a seed and you're able to see that it's a forest, you will even do more, because the seed is a magical thing. So you even do more with it and make sure that you maximize the best out of it. So what coordination or synchronicity of brains must occur for this result for a satisfying outcome? So for you to do even more magical, that means you must learn the ability to coordinate creativity, compassion, and courage, so that your mind can always, most often than not, be powerful to do great things. So that is one reason why you must always ask a lot of whys and do a lot of work on your languaging and your wording, because every faculty of your brain actually records whatever you say. Objective outcome satisfaction. Make sure that whatever you are doing, you've set an objective outcome, and develop a satisfying metrics that will coordinate all the three. How would you, Gasti, feel about the outcome? How would you, Hattie, feel about the outcome? And how would you, Hedy, feel about the outcome? If you're able to create the bridge of the three, you have produced a powerful stuff. And people look, are you using magic or something? No, because you evoke that mind and create it. Repetition and reminders of the need or activity. We all learn differently. We all learn differently. So it is imperative to make sure that the more you repeat something, using the two sides of the parasympathetic and stuff, if you create the inner line and you repeat it over a period of time, I spoke about pathways. You begin to create different pathways. Then your subconscious begins to uphold that different pathways for it to produce outstanding personality for you in what you aspire to be or do, or you have been doing. Then you have good sleep. Oh, there is more time to sleep. Oh, there is more time to sleep. Oh, there is more time to sleep. Do you know that it is during your sleep that your gastric brains gets time to work around every part of your body, coordinate with the heart and the brain for them to work out the betterment of yourself? So you are doing 2 hours sleep, 4 hours sleep. Oh, there's more time to sleep. You will get stroke. That is, this is why, look at the greatest scientists. the age they die. Check. The inventors and innovators, go and check the age they die. Because a lot of them don't get good sleep. Remember, there is a part of the brain that its job is to do rest, because recovery occurs during when you are asleep. And one of the moments that your gut brains talk to you, even your heart brains talk to you, is when you are asleep, because every distraction is off and you are in a state of motionlessness for it to occur. That is because sometimes some of us, we dream. Look, somebody had a heart transplant and kept dreaming and found a name that popped up. Guess what? When she followed up, found out that the heart was for the donor. The name that occurred was the donor's name, because mostly you don't even know whose heart you have been given. So there is scientific stuff to prove all this. So, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't matter whom you think you are. Sleep is the manure to the power of your mind. Sleep is a manure to the power of your mind. So don't take it for granted and let anybody confuse that there is more time to sleep. If you want to live long and impact, give your body rest through sleeping. Affection and healthy relationships. When your heart is able to love without ends, it does not mean you should be stupid in affection giving. But if you are the kind that you have trained and created pathways of affection giving, it becomes your shield that does not allow toxics to come through, because when the toxic comes, you feel very uncomfortable and you have to delete it from your system. And healthy relationship, like the conversation that is going on now, you are going to go back and begin to troubleshoot your being. We call it auditing and editing your mind, and realize that you want to begin to do some shifting. When they occur, it won't happen instant until you do it repetitively, so that the subconscious mind will record it, and the brains, all the three, can also keep the memory of what you are asking it to do differently. So to empower the mind, you need about all these 8 things. There are other things, but this is a short presentation. In a full-blown workshop or training, where a lot of exercise goes into testing all that we have shared for you to maximize it. But these are the little things you can do back home to begin to find the best. Any question on this so far before we go to the perhaps I think that will be the last slide.
Hello, please. I have a question.
Please go ahead.
All right. Can you mention your name, where you are?
My name is 𝐓𝐡𝐞 𝐌𝐢𝐧𝐝. I see the 8th point to be affection and healthy relationships. Does it mean that loneliness or being alone for a long time affects the brain?
It affects all the 3 brains, because affection comes from where? The heart brain, right? So that is how can you check that you could be creative in doing things. But because the creativity lacks compassion, it does not produce that environment for even the thing to run fast. So if you check, that is how come loneliness is being equated in the field of psychology or clinicians, that it is becoming like a disorder. It is because at a point, what is creating loneliness, if you don't troubleshoot it to find it out, that maybe it could be unhealed. Having my background in healing of memories as well, we know the damage of unhealed past situations creates for you. Unhealed past situations. And those unhealed are more like the seeds in any of these brains. They begin to bear fruit, and loneliness is one of them. Except it's a clinical matter, maybe something has really occurred. Then they want to put in other interventions here and there. So it is very important that you learn to create those environments for yourself. Thank you, like PTSD, post-traumatic syndrome disorder, and co. That is how come it is important that even people who are going through those kind of stuff, they always want to marshal their loved ones around them. One of the critical examples of this is my director at the Institute of Healing of Memories. When Father Lapsley got bombed by the apartheid government in Zimbabwe, he said that he was at the brink of acknowledging death so he could die and go or survive. And what got him survive was the bouquet of love through letters and news items across the world that he kept receiving in his sick bed. So it is very important to know that healthy and affectionate. I don't know any of us here who likes chocolate. Have you noticed that when you put chocolate on your tongue, something runs through your body? A certain sweetness, a certain feeling, a certain something runs through your body. If anyone here likes chocolate or loves chocolate, when you're salivating chocolate, there is a way. If we're to do practicals right now, even without substance chocolate, and we were to say salivate chocolate, you realize that something occurs. Because there is a part of the body that has got some of the chemicals in chocolate that when they meet together, sweetness occurs. And people who loves that, you realize that if you hurt them, they express it and they move on, then you go like, so don't you remember what they did to you? It does not mean you will not build barriers. You will not build, we call it territories that allows you to manage a toxic relationship. Somebody says something, being alone does not mean you are lonely. I think it's that clarity is indeed being alone. If you are single and you live alone, it does not mean you are lonely. But when it becomes a repetitive trait and it creates you to begin to quail, you see all the other signs, then you realize that something else is going. Then you might need a professional or clinical help or support or assistance. So this is how to empower the mind. One of the 8 ways, the giveaways we can give. The others, if it were to be a full-blown workshop, activities would have been done. And this one way you can power it off the hook so that you can maximize this particular session you have been on. Please, the next one.
Yes, thank you. Brother Nat has his hands raised, so let's listen to him before we go to the last slide.
Oh, please go ahead. I cannot see him. Thank you, Chairman.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Brother Nat.
Very quickly, and first of all, it goes without saying, I have to give thanks, Brother Essien. This has been a very comprehensive presentation so far, so I have to give thanks to you. My question was just really around, nothing is new under the sun. So are you aware, or who are you aware of from our people that have demonstrated to some degree where we've got some recording, some evidence base of practicing this to, as much to its optimum as possible? Are you aware of any group of our people, African people, that have practiced this? Because I will say my thoughts go straight to our ancient Kemetic ancestors, predominantly.
Absolutely. And that is why I said in my introduction that the lack of this depth of insight and wisdom is what does not allow us to maximize the power of our mind. Like I said also, the sages of old, including Kemet, Asia and stuff, it has all happened. That is how some of them were so powerful. You see, when you meet them, you can feel the aura. You see, and then we give it mystic names and here and there. But it is something that goes through. Where does meditation come from? It's an ancient thing. It's not new. And meditation is a simple practice of what? Mindfulness. It's not new. It's not coordinating spirits and anything. It is giving your mind and your body, that is the soma, full presence to coordinate all the 3 before even you step out every morning, even if you reach something, how you go. So it is an ancient practice. But today, because science have been able to give it scientific backing, that is how come I'm able to share this and make it more meaningful. Because those are when you say you have a mind, body, and soul. How was this meaningful to you? How was this meaningful to you? Even to practice mindfulness, you struggle to do it. But now that science has augmented and created the meanings and interpretations, we are able to find meaning to it. And I agree with you. It is not new. It is very ancient. It is only the scientific revelation of it that is new. Thank you.
Give thanks. Give thanks.
Okay. Few pointers. Scofray permits me to read them, and then we can go ahead. I think trying to start from somewhere. Okay, from 4:30, but I'm not said negative part is what we have created. Predominantly, I would propose enhance a powerful mind by feeding health food to the body, mind, and soul. Thanks, Brother Nat, for that. Sally is asking for the recording. Yes, will be available on our Facebook page. You can watch it again. Victoria was saying the first question requires less effort. That's the question you asked. The number one requires less effort or thoughts. However, when you add more to the question, it makes you add extra effort or thoughts. Thank you, Victoria, for your question, for your input as well. Brother Nat said this is very much in line with Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, one of the 6 richest, to focus on positive mental attitude. Positive mental attitude. This is, should I say, a topic Scofray and myself want to treat before the month of October comes to an end, the positive mental attitude. So watch the space for it. Brother Nat again said what the mind can conceive and believe it will achieve. Yes, whatever you focus on, you'll be able to achieve. AC said the first question is more like what I bring to the table and how can I improve the situation. The second is what more can I bring to the table and how I can improve more. Yes, these are some of the questions that came up. The interesting points that came up was loneliness. Somebody, Benis said loneliness is actually a mental disorder. But however, saying that being alone and loneliness are 2 different things. Yes, sometimes you can be alone, but loneliness is, I believe, is deadly. Veronica said that please, aside these activities that helps to give healthy mind, are there any foods or books which will help in this regard? So Scofray are tailored on this. If you become a nutritionist and give us food tips, we'll take. If you can be an author and recommend books as well, we'll take. Thank you. And okay, Brother Nats try to answer Sister Veronica said green veg foods as well as possible. The darker fruits, the veg, the better. Okay, so Scofray, we want to go on the next slide and then we can open up for questions. Scofray?
Chairman, thank you. Because you were reading, I needed also to mute myself. So maximizing the power of your mind, how to maximize, how to explode it, how to get the light show forth in there. These are activities you need to be doing. Goal and outcome setting. If you check the choice of words, it's not only goal, but outcome setting. Because anytime you are setting goal, you must have the end in sight. Even the creator did that, the end in sight before he began anything. So it's the same way that it is important that whatever you want to do, remember the 3 C's, the compassion, the courage, and the creativity. Ask yourself the outcome, would it have the synchronized or the mix, the proper mix of it? Yes, the creativity comes from the brain. Yes, you are fascinated, but ask yourself, what is being driven, which part of your other brain, so that the mind empowers it for you. Decision making, right? I cited an example that don't take decision only from your head or only from your heart or only from your gut. The sad reality is even the gut, because it speaks softly and sometimes it is not loud. If you don't take it, you never even hear your gut speaking. But you feel it when you're able to coordinate the 3. Like I said, the guy said after you realize that no, something tells you could have added something here. The next time you do it and you add that which came forth, that means your gut gave you something that's kept in memory or gave you something that can enhance. So your decision making, problem solving, how your languaging. If you see every situation as opportunity or magical moment, you won't see it, because the word problem itself is a blockade to how the brain must function. Because when you go to the parasitic side, that is what it likes. It goes in the parasympathetic. It tells you, oh, problem there, problem is like this. But if you have the mindfulness that every situation is a magical one, and you want to know even more how you make it more magical, the way you solve situations becomes different. Motivation and action taken. There is a faculty of your body that gets, the chemicals in the body called the dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and all that. They all play this function that we are talking about. And it's not only in the head. It's not in the head. In fact, it's in the neurons. It's in the entire nervous system, the autonomic nervous system, the somatic nervous system. It's all there. That forms all of us, who we are as a mind. So you must trigger actions. Don't say you want to do something and pay lip service. Anything you do with that action, because be, do, have. If there is no doing in the being, you won't have anything. If there is only being and doing, and the results does not put that, you go and check your being, that there's something else you are being than what you're talking about. Harnessing your intuition, I've already spoken about that. Let's make a lot of, the human being, as we are now these days and age, we don't harness our intuition. We don't harness it at all. Some of us, we listen to junk foods, we eat junk foods, we eat because that is where we cultivate. So whatever you put in the tummy that disturbs the entire tummy, the entire tummy system, you are disturbing your intuitive brain, you're disturbing your gastric brains. It won't give you the output you deserve. And I'll give you one example already. If you eat too much, you have very horrible dreams. It's not by accident. So intermittent fasting and healthy eating is important for you to harness your intuition. Cultivate understanding and perspective when issues come before you. For you to even learn how to make it even more magical, you must look at it from different perspectives. Perspectives widens, because what you identify, like today, if there was something you didn't know today, you know, all the three brains are going to record it so that it allows you to play it out if you want to exercise it. So cultivating understanding and perspectives. Relationships, we cannot overemphasize it. Relationships, any friend, any something, whatever you have, that takes so much physical energy from you. Always you feel drained being around the person. Always you feel drained around the person. For your own health and your goodness sake, sever that ties and let it be hello and high, and heal yourself and become a better person. That is how come that they say a victim has about 90% propensity to also victimize somebody or perpetrate that same sense of acts that made a person a victim. So if you are not able to break and end cycles through varied exercises and experiential exercises, you become something that which you dread most that happened to you. Personal development. Today, I and Chairman were having a discussion that a lot of us don't invest in our personal development. A lot of us don't at all. We can spend all the time on social media and anything and stuff. We read nothing. We do nothing. That is how come you see, and what is so beautiful that you begin to play out and you realize that something ain't right about your life. But you get so used to. Recently, there was a psychological research that proves that among politicians and religious fanatics, they get to the parasympathetic end so much that they don't even know the difference between truth and lies, because they have been so programmed with lies to the extreme that it cannot even see truth or can't even feel truth. But it's also because they've shut every part of the other part of the brain that gives the mind the power. So the guts that can decipher truth for you, you've killed it. Is that? So learning, three things occur when you invest in personal development: learning, unlearning, and relearning. Most of us, because we lack the insight we are sharing today, we are not able to complete the other two parts of the cycle. That is the unlearning and relearning. So when we get to the unlearning, it's so difficult to look at yourself in the mirror and say, so these things, that is how powerful your memories work. So when you begin to unlearn, you are creating new pathways. And when you relearn new things, it cements the pathways for you to occur. So learning is critical, but learning what you can decipher with all the three brains empowers your mind. So you just don't read anything. That is how come most our challenge in our part of the world is that we are becoming chew and pour. So we don't learn and coordinate values to it. We don't learn and coordinate telepathy to it. We don't learn and coordinate intuition to it. So we become full of bookworms, but we can't do anything because there is no coordination of values, purposes, and stuff to the creativity. That is the compassion part. So your learning must integrate all the three things: creativity, compassion, and courage. It is very profound thing where you must then behavioral change. Whatever we've shared today goes a long way to want to audit and allow you to edit. I'm choosing my words very, very carefully. Audit your behavior, your beingness, and edit, so that you begin to conduct things that allow you to say, okay, I've identified you, we will do this about it. identify you will do this about it. Then the more you keep on doing that, you begin to model a behavior that allows all the brains to record them, memorize them. Then it deepens the pathways, which makes you become that which you have established to create for yourself. Health and well-being. I cannot overemphasize this. If you don't feel well, seek attention. Seek attention. Like, you know you have malaria and you only want to call your pastor to receive prayer. If he's a good pastor like my own, who is a medical doctor, the first thing will tell you that I'm praying with you, but go to the hospital and direct you to a hospital you should go to. Go and do your labs. This is what we mean by health. Because if you have constipation, look at how it disturbs even you to think right. Yet it's in your tummy. But because it's a brain that must be in congruence with all the other two, that is how come that when you have constipation, you cannot even think right. How many of us have had experience where in the morning you have been able to download so well that when you get out of the WC or the toilet, you are so serene from your inner spirit, from your head. You are so serene because there was blockade of junk in your guts. After that thing deployed, you realize that everything comes to synchronicity. So your health is important. And the well-being, work-life balance, work-life balance, work-life balance. It allows you to project areas, right confessions, right way of thinking, participatory beingness, looking for opportunities where others think nothing exists in there, quantum being and all that allows you to maximize the power of your mind. You are too powerful than you think. You are too powerful than you ever thought of yourself. Thank you, Chairman. If people have questions and stuff, I'm open. This is one aspect of trainings we do. There's a comprehensive training where resilience and all that, we do typical exercises here and there that we deduce the best to make you the best person. So power of the mind, mastery in neuro display. You are not an accident. Whatever is showing forth, like I said, the display is a message to you. I am Scofray Nana Yaw Yeboah. I am a transformational coach, certified professional corporate trainer, and a consultant. If you want to reach me, all those are the means you can reach me. But Chairman, I'm open for questions and inputs. Anything anybody can add, what we've shared. I'm open. Thank you, Chairman. I'm very grateful for all the friends far and near who joined this particular webinar. I'm so humbled, so humbled to have you here. I cannot mention everybody's name, but I'm so humbled that you're giving me this global audience. That's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Scofray. Thank you so much. True. The mind is a terrible thing to waste. Amazing presentation right there. We're going to open up for questions. We're going to open up for any ideas, any suggestions that you have. As Scofray mentioned, this is one of the trainings that we do. We are planning to do, as I mentioned, the effects of positive mental attitude, what we stand to gain when we put ourselves in those in the act of thinking positively. I think Scofray has been my friend for long, and he'll tell you that I don't have negative moments. Every time I'm upbeat, very much poised for positivity. So, it's good to have friends like Scofray who also thinks positive. And when you meet, it's always great ideas that come out and a betterment of our future. Let's ask questions. You can unmute. Let's ask questions. If you have any question, please lift your hand gently. Let me just, so I can see the screen very well. Good. Lift your hand and then you can ask question. If you go to, yes, Veronica, yes, you can ask.
Hello, Veronica Latte. I want to ask, at what age can we train our children to get this kind of a healthy mind, to develop healthy mind? Thank you.
Yes, Scofray.
Yes, I want to say from the moment you discover you are pregnant, I know this sounds very interesting, but from the moment when we studied the biology of belief, it has been established that the environment in which you got pregnant in begins to become a learning curve for the child. Then when they, from the 9th month and they come into this physical realm, that there's the sharp exchange of from womb to this physical world, it also begins to. That is why it is important that the unconscious mind begins to grow in the virtues and all this and that. So at those tender age, give them a lot of virtue. Give them a lot of virtue. The dopamine, which allows us to do things and get appreciated. Those of us who are spoiling our kids, that you want to do everything for the fear that maybe they'll do it, for the fear that they will do, you are killing something in them. You are killing something in them. Let them be able to do something and applaud them and even appreciate them. Even when they make a mistake, use that mistake as an opportunity to, so like we have learned, create an opportunity out of that mistake instead of dooming the situation. So it is important that the virtue, which is the unconscious mind or the subconscious mind, is the first part of the mind that grows. That is where virtue, a lot of stuff takes place. It's also that point where they learn a lot of languages. If you speak more than one language in your home, please give it all to your kids. Give them more than one language to your kids. It's a powerful manual to the subconscious mind. Give it all to them through to like they are 18 before the frontal or the cortex mind actually complete developing in 20, 25, 24, 24 years. So we've spoken about the food, the environment. Look at kids that grew up in what we call compound houses and compared to kids that grew up in certain modest estates. You will always see the sharp difference. You will always see, because the environment, that is the nurturing is so influential on the nature. So as for the age, right from the womb. Thank you, Veronica.
Thank you, Scofray. We have Fred. We've not heard a voice, so Fred can go first, then Wotoli will come.
Yeah, thank you very much, ACN. I want to find out the influence of religion and our ability to really bring out the power of our minds. Is there any correlation? Is there any challenge? If Scofray will want to share, I'll be so grateful.
Okay, I am a Christian, so let me use it from that perspective. And the signs that when you become parasympathetic, that means fanaticism, religious fanaticism, political fanaticism, the end where you go that you cannot even decipher fact from truth or whatever, then it has a dire impact on you as an individual. That means that moment religion has affected you negatively. But if you look through all powerful religious books, the Bible, the Quran, the Kemet, Egyptology, every one of them speaks or spoke about the mind, body, and soul. And that is what we have interpreted now. And for me, because of my insight and practice, my intuition is my gateway in my relationship to my maker. So if I don't know the dynamics and the chemistry of my intuition, I will be doing horrible fasting than anything, and nothing will occur because you have fasted, but there is a bug. There is a bug in your mind that sees every situation as caused by a witch. I don't know, Fred, so you see the dimension.
Yeah,
you have fasted, all right. So instead of allowing fasting based on allowing your intuitive language to occur, you have bugged the head brain that says that everything that you are going through is as a result of a witch. That prayer will not work. it will not work. Because to be able to even exercise any of the virtues that any religion espouses, you will need to coordinate all these three things of the mind we have learned to be able to benefit. Other than that, how look at the things that people are doing in the name of religion. Look at the things, especially in Africa. It is because they've gone to the parasympathetic extreme end where it has become, in quotes, a waste of the. Look at what they are doing. Whilst Others, whether they go to church or not and believe in the creation and the creator, they elevate all this embodiment. Imagine in Christian faith, if a lot of them, when they hear meditation, they think you have become occultic. What meditation means is a mindfulness. In the morning, you cut off every noise, go through certain strategies that maybe after you have read maybe your how we call it, your morning devotion.
Your devotion, okay.
The period you go into to cut off everything to salivate what you've read, because like I've mentioned, languaging and wording are important, and there is always a meaning beyond the text you read, and that is what you want to decode and let it benefit you and nourish your entire being, as I've mentioned. So yes, there is a damning consequence of religion in the growth of every individual. I agree with you.